The stars were cold and silent outside the window of the Earthship called Horizon's Edge. Commander. Jake Morrison stood alone on the bridge, his hands behind his back, watching the endless darkness of space. He was a tall man with brown hair that was starting to show some gray at the sides. His eyes were blue like the ocean back on Earth, and they had seen many things in his 40 years of life. Jake had been a soldier for 20 years. He had fought in 3 wars. He had saved lives, and he had taken lives. But nothing in his experience had prepared him for what was about to happen. "Commander," said a voice behind him. It was Lieutenant Amy Porter, his communications officer. She was young, maybe 25, with red hair and freckles across her nose. "We are receiving a transmission from the alien vessel." Jake turned around slowly. Through the main window, he could see the Volanti ship. It was huge. It was so big that it made the Horizon's Edge look like a small toy. The alien ship was purple and black, and it seemed to glow with its own strange light. It had been waiting here for 3 days, and no one knew why. "Put it on the screen," Jake said. The large screen at the front of the bridge flickered and came to life. Jake felt his breath catch in his chest. The being on the screen was beautiful. There was no other word for it. She had skin as white as fresh snow, smooth and perfect. Her eyes were large and purple, like 2 amethyst gems. Small ridges ran along her cheekbones, and they sparkled when the light touched them. Her hair was long and silver, falling past her shoulders like a waterfall of moonlight. She wore armor that looked like liquid metal. It moved and shifted on her body as if it was alive. A crown of crystal sat upon her head. "I am Seraphina," she said. Her voice was soft and musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "I am the Queen of the Volanti Empire. I rule over 2,000 star systems and 100 billion souls. And I wish to speak with you, Commander Jake Morrison." Jake straightened his back. Behind him, he could hear his crew whispering to each other. The Volanti Empire was the most powerful force in the galaxy. They had technology that humans could only dream about. A single Volanti warship could destroy an entire human fleet. And their queen wanted to speak with him. "Your Majesty," Jake said, keeping his voice calm and steady. "I am honored by your attention. May I ask why you have requested this meeting?" The queen tilted her head slightly. There was something in her purple eyes, something that Jake could not quite understand. It was almost like sadness, but not quite. It was deeper than that. "I have been watching your species for many years," Seraphina said. "You humans are interesting. You are weak compared to many other species. Your bodies are fragile. Your lives are short. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no special abilities. And yet," she paused, and her eyes seemed to look right through the screen and into Jake's soul. "And yet you keep going," she continued. "You fight against impossible odds. You love with all your hearts. You build and create and dream. I have studied many species in my long life, Commander, but I have never seen anything quite like humanity." Jake did not know what to say. He had expected threats or demands or diplomatic talk. He had not expected this. "Thank you, Your Majesty," he said finally. "We try our best. I know you do." The Queen's lips curved into a small smile. "That is why I wish to meet with you in person. I am inviting you to dine with me aboard my vessel. Tonight. Just the 2 of us." The bridge went completely silent. Jake could feel the eyes of his entire crew on his back. Going alone into an alien ship was dangerous. It was against every rule and protocol. He could be walking into a trap, but something in the Queen's eyes told him that she was not lying. There was something real there, something honest. Jake had learned to trust his instincts over the years. They had kept him alive through many battles. "I would be honored to join you, Your Majesty," Jake said. "Please," she said, and her voice became softer. Call me Serafina. I grow tired of titles and formality. I wish to speak with you as one person to another, not as a queen to a soldier." Jake nodded slowly. "Then I will see you tonight, Serafina." The screen went dark. For a long moment, no one on the bridge spoke. "Sir," Amy finally said, her voice filled with worry. "Are you sure about this? We know almost nothing about the Volanti. Their technology is far beyond ours. If something goes wrong, then you will take the ship and run," Jake said firmly. "That is an order. If I do not return within 12 hours, you leave this system and report back to Earth Command. Do you understand?" Amy's face was pale, but she nodded. "Yes, sir. I understand." Jake looked around at his crew. There were 20 people on the bridge, and every single one of them looked worried. These were good people. He had served with some of them for 10 years or more. They trusted him with their lives, and he trusted them with his. "I know this seems crazy," Jake said, "but I have a feeling about this. Something important is happening here. I do not know what it is yet, but I intend to find out." He walked to the door of the bridge and paused. He turned back to look at his crew one more time. "Keep the ship safe," he said. "I will be back." 2 hours later, Jake was sitting in a small shuttle, flying toward the massive Volanti ship. His heart was beating fast in his chest. The alien vessel grew larger and larger in his window until it filled his entire view. Up close, he could see that the surface of the ship was not solid metal. It was covered in patterns that looked almost like veins or roots. The ship looked organic, alive. A door opened in the side of the alien vessel, and a blue light pulled his shuttle inside. Jake gripped the arms of his chair as his small craft was drawn into the belly of the beast. The inside of the Volanti ship was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. The walls glowed with soft purple and blue light. The air smelled sweet, like flowers after rain. Strange music played from somewhere, soft and haunting. 4 guards waited for him. They were tall and thin, with the same pale skin as the queen. They wore armor of living metal and carried weapons that Jake did not recognize. Their faces showed no expression as they looked at him. "Follow," one of them said simply. Jake followed. They walked through long corridors that twisted and turned in ways that made no sense. Sometimes they seemed to be walking uphill when Jake was sure they should be going down. The ship was playing tricks on his mind. Finally, they reached a large door made of something that looked like black glass. The guards stopped and stepped aside. "Enter," the same guard said. "The queen waits for you." Jake took a deep breath. He pushed open the door and stepped inside. The room was large and beautiful. Windows lined one wall, showing the stars outside. A long table sat in the middle of the room, covered with food and drink. Candles burned with purple flames, casting dancing shadows. And there, standing by the window with the starlight behind her, was Queen Serafina. She had changed from her armor into a long red dress that flowed around her like water. Without the crown, she looked younger somehow, softer. She turned when Jake entered, and her purple eyes met his blue ones. "You came," she said, and there was surprise in her voice. "I was not sure that you would." "I said I would come," Jake replied. "I keep my promises." Something flickered in her eyes. "Yes," she said quietly. "I believe you do. Please, Commander, sit. We have much to discuss." Jake walked to the table and sat down. The queen sat across from him. For a moment, they simply looked at each other. Two beings from different worlds, trying to understand. And somehow, deep in his heart, Jake knew that his life was about to change forever. Jake looked at the food on the table. There were dishes of every color and shape. Some looked like fruit, others like meat, and some like nothing he had ever seen before. Steam rose from several plates, carrying smells that were strange but not unpleasant. I had my cooks prepare food that humans can eat safely, Seraphina said. She picked up a small silver fork and gestured toward the table. I hope you find it acceptable. Jake noticed that the fork was designed for human hands, not for the long, thin fingers of the Volanthi. Someone had put a lot of thought into this dinner. You went to a lot of trouble for me, Jake said. Yes, Seraphina replied simply. I did. She did not explain why. Jake decided not to push. Instead, he picked up his own fork and tried a piece of something that looked like purple bread. It tasted sweet and rich, better than anything he had eaten in months of eating ship food. This is very good, he said. Seraphina smiled. It was a small smile, but it changed her whole face. She looked less like a queen and more like a regular person. I am glad. Please, eat as much as you like. They ate in silence for a while. Jake found himself relaxing despite the strange situation. There was something calming about Seraphina. She did not seem threatening or dangerous. She seemed lonely. That was the word that kept coming to his mind. Lonely. Tell me about Earth, Seraphina said finally. I have read many reports and watched many recordings, but they do not capture the feeling of a place. What is it like to live there? Jake thought for a moment. Earth is beautiful, he said. We have blue oceans and green forests and mountains that touch the clouds. We have cities full of millions of people, and we have quiet villages where everyone knows each other. It rains sometimes, and the rain makes everything smell fresh and clean. Rain, Seraphina repeated. Water falling from the sky. We do not have that on my home world. Our planet is dry and cold. Water comes from deep underground. That sounds difficult. We are used to it. Seraphina set down her fork and looked at Jake with curiosity. Tell me about human families. How do your people live together? Jake was not sure where this conversation was going, but he answered honestly. Well, usually two people fall in love. They decide they want to spend their lives together. They get married, which is a ceremony where they make promises to each other. Then they might have children and raise them together. And how do people fall in love? Seraphina asked. Her voice was soft, almost hungry for information. Jake laughed a little. That is the big question, is it not? I'm not sure anyone really knows. It just happens. You meet someone, and something clicks. You want to be around them. You think about them when they are not there. Their happiness becomes important to you, maybe even more important than your own happiness. Seraphina was very still. Her purple eyes were fixed on Jake's face with an intensity that made him slightly uncomfortable. And you choose this person yourself? She asked. No one tells you who to love? No, Jake said. We choose for ourselves. That is the whole point. Love that is forced is not really love. Seraphina stood up suddenly and walked to the window. She stood there with her back to Jake, looking out at the stars. Her shoulders were tense, and Jake could see that her hands were shaking slightly. Among my people, she said quietly, the queen does not choose her mate. The Council of Elders chooses for her. They look at bloodlines and political power and military strength. They find the male who will bring the most benefit to the empire, and they tell the queen that this is her husband now. Jake said nothing. He sensed that Seraphina needed to talk, and he was willing to listen. I have been queen for 40 of your years, she continued. In that time, I have had 3 husbands. The council chose all of them. The first was a general named Korn. He was brave and strong, but he had no kindness in him. He saw me as a prize, not a person. He died in battle after 7 years. She paused, and Jake could hear the pain in her voice. The second was a noble named Varric. He was kind enough, I suppose, but he was weak. He was afraid of me. He never looked me in the eyes. He died of sickness after 12 years. I am sorry, Jake said softly. The third was Theron's brother, Marvik. He was... Seraphine's voice became hard. He was cruel. He enjoyed hurting others. I was glad when he died, and I am not ashamed to say it. She turned around to face Jake. There were tears in her purple eyes. Jake had not known that the Volanthi could cry. I have never loved anyone, Seraphina said. I have never been loved. I have performed my duties. I have given my people heirs. I have fought their wars and ruled their empire. But I have never known what it feels like to be chosen, to be wanted, to matter to someone not because of my title, but because of who I am. Jake stood up and walked toward her. He stopped a few feet away, not wanting to crowd her. That sounds incredibly lonely, he said. It is. A tear rolled down her cheek, leaving a silver trail on her white skin. And then your species came along. Humans. I started studying you out of curiosity. You were so different from us. So emotional. So passionate. I watched your entertainment shows, and read your books, and listened to your music. And I discovered something that changed everything for me. What was that? Love stories, Seraphina said. Your people write thousands of stories about love. About two people finding each other against all odds. About choosing to be together even when everything is against them. About fighting for each other, sacrificing for each other, building a life together. At first, I thought these stories were fantasy, fiction. But then I learned that many humans actually live this way. They actually choose their partners. They actually love. She laughed, but it was a sad laugh. I am over 200 years old, Commander. I have seen things you cannot imagine. I have wielded power that could destroy planets. But I have never experienced what your people call love. And reading those stories made me want it more than anything I have ever wanted in my entire life. Jake did not know what to say. What could he say? This ancient, powerful queen was standing before him with tears on her face, telling him about her deepest loneliness. It was not what he had expected from this meeting at all. Why are you telling me this? He asked gently. Seraphina wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. Because I wanted you to understand. I wanted someone to know who I really am, not who the council says I should be. And I chose you because... She stopped. She looked away. Because what? Jake prompted. Because I have been watching you for 2 years, Commander Jake Morrison. I have read every report about you. I have watched recordings of your battles and your speeches, and even some of your private conversations, when you did not know you were being watched. I know that is a violation of your privacy, and I am sorry for it. But I had to know. Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Know what? Seraphina met his eyes again. I had to know if humans were really as wonderful as your stories made them seem. And you, Commander, you are even better. You are brave, but you are not reckless. You are strong, but you are kind. Your crew loves you because you treat them with respect. You have fought in terrible wars, but you have not become hard or cruel. You are good. Simply, purely good. Jake did not know how to respond to that. He was just a soldier doing his job. He had never thought of himself as anything special. I am just a man, he said finally. I am not anyone important. Seraphina shook her head. That is exactly what makes you important. You do not seek power for its own sake. You do not want fame or glory. You just want to do the right thing and protect the people you care about. Do you know how rare that is among leaders? How precious. She stepped closer to him. They were only a foot apart now. Jake could smell her scent, something like moonflowers and ice. I invited you here because I wanted to meet you, Seraphina said. I wanted to see if you were real, or if my hope had built you into something you could never be. And now that I have met you... She did not finish the sentence. She did not need to. Jake could see everything in her eyes. The hope, the fear, the longing that had been building in her heart for years. "I should go," Jake said, though part of him did not want to leave. "Yes," Serafina agreed. "You should. But will you come back? Tomorrow, perhaps? I would like to talk more. I have not had anyone to really talk to in a very long time." Jake knew he should refuse. This was dangerous. This was complicated. This could cause problems between their species that could last for generations. But when he looked into her purple eyes, he could not say no. "I will come back tomorrow," he said, and for the first time since he had met her, Serafina smiled a real smile. It lit up her face like the sun coming out from behind clouds. "Thank you," she whispered. "Thank you, Jake." It was the first time she had used his first name, and somehow that felt more significant than anything else that had happened that night. 3 weeks passed, then 4, then 5. Jake found himself traveling to the Volante ship almost every day. At first, he told himself it was diplomatic duty. He was building relations between their species. He was gathering intelligence. He was doing his job, but he knew these were lies. The truth was simpler and more complicated at the same time. He wanted to see Serafina. He thought about her when they were apart. Her face appeared in his dreams. They talked about everything: politics and history, art and music, childhood memories and adult fears. Serafina showed him the gardens aboard her ship, where alien flowers bloomed in colors that had no names in human language. She played him Volante music that made his heart ache with feelings he could not describe. In return, Jake showed her recordings of Earth, sunsets over the ocean, children playing in snow, old couples holding hands in the park. Serafina watched each video with hungry eyes, drinking in the images like someone dying of thirst. Back on the horizon's edge, his crew noticed the change in their commander. Jake smiled more. He laughed more easily. The weight that had always sat on his shoulders seemed lighter. Lieutenant Amy Porter finally said what everyone was thinking. "You are falling for her, are you not, sir?" Jake was standing in his private quarters, looking at himself in the mirror. He was getting ready for another visit to the Volante ship. He had even started caring about how he looked, combing his hair and checking for wrinkles in his uniform. "I do not know what you mean," Jake said, but he could not meet Amy's eyes in the mirror. "Sir," Amy's voice was gentle but firm, "I have served with you for 8 years. I have never seen you like this. You are in love with her." Jake was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed. "Is it that obvious?" "Only to everyone," Amy said with a small smile. "The whole crew knows. We have been taking bets on when you will finally admit it." Jake turned around to face her. "It is impossible, Amy. She is an alien queen. I am a human soldier. Our species barely know each other. The political problems alone would be enormous. Her own people would never accept it." "Since when do you care about impossible?" Amy asked. "Sir, I have seen you do things that should not be possible. You saved our ship at the Battle of Proxima when everyone said we were dead. You talked peace with the Crothian raiders when everyone said they could not be reasoned with. You have never let impossible stop you before." Jake shook his head. "This is different. Is it? Or are you just scared?" The question hung in the air. Jake wanted to deny it, but he could not. Amy was right. He was scared. He was terrified. Not of the danger, or the politics, or the problems. He was scared of his own feelings. He had spent 20 years as a soldier, building walls around his heart, telling himself that love was a luxury he could not afford. And now those walls were crumbling. "Go to her," Amy said softly. "Tell her how you feel. Whatever happens next, at least you will know." Jake nodded slowly. He straightened his uniform one last time and walked to the shuttle bay. When he arrived at Seraphine's ship, something felt different. The guards who usually greeted him were not there. The corridors were empty. A strange tension hung in the air. He found Seraphina in her private garden, sitting on a bench beneath a tree with silver leaves. She was crying. Her shoulders shook with sobs that she tried to hide. Jake ran to her side. "Seraphina, what is wrong? What happened?" She looked up at him with red-rimmed eyes. Her face was wet with tears. "The council knows," she said. "They know about us, about our meetings. Someone has been watching and reporting everything." Jake felt his heart grow cold. "What will they do?" "They have given me an order." Seraphine's voice was bitter. "I am to stop seeing you immediately. I am to choose a new husband from the candidates they have selected. I am to remember my duty to the Empire and stop this foolishness with the human. And if you refuse?" Seraphina laughed, but there was no humor in it. "If I refuse, they will remove me from the throne. They will put my cousin Theron in my place. He's the leader of those who hate me, those who think I am too soft, too interested in peace instead of war. If Theron becomes ruler, he will attack your people. He has said so many times. He believes humanity is weak and should be conquered." Jake sat down beside her. His mind was racing, but his heart was clear. He knew what he had to do. "Seraphina," he said, "there is something I need to tell you." She looked at him, and in that moment, she was not a queen. She was just a woman, sad and scared and hoping for something she was afraid to hope for. "These past weeks have been the best of my life," Jake said. His voice was steady, even though his hands were shaking. "Every time I see you, my heart beats faster. When we are apart, I count the hours until we are together again. I think about you constantly. Your smile, your voice, the way you laugh when I tell you silly Earth jokes." Seraphine's eyes went wide. "Jake, I know it is impossible," Jake continued. "I know there are 1,000 reasons why this cannot work, but I do not care about any of them. Because the truth is, I love you, Seraphina. I love you with all my heart. And I would rather face every problem in the galaxy with you by my side than live a safe, easy life without you." Tears were flowing down Seraphine's face again, but now she was smiling. "You love me? Truly?" "Truly," Jake said. "Completely, forever." Seraphina threw her arms around him. She held him tight, as if afraid he might disappear. Jake held her back, feeling her body shake with emotion. "I have waited 200 years to hear those words," she whispered against his shoulder. "I had given up hope. I thought I would die never knowing what love felt like. And then you came, Jake Morrison. You impossible, wonderful human." She pulled back to look at him. Her purple eyes were bright with tears and joy. "I love you too," she said. "I have loved you since before we even met. I loved you when you were just images on a screen and words in a report. And now that I know you, I love you more than I thought possible." She paused, and her expression became serious. "But Jake, you need to understand what this means. If we do this, if we choose to be together, everything will change. My people will be angry. Your people might not understand. There could be war. There could be death. I could not bear it if you were hurt because of me." Jake took her face in his hands. "Listen to me," he said firmly. "I have fought in wars. I have faced death many times. I am not afraid of the Council or of Theron or of anyone else. The only thing that frightens me is losing you. Whatever comes next, we will face it together. That is what love means, is it not? Standing together no matter what." Seraphina nodded slowly. "Yes," she said. "That is exactly what it means." She leaned forward and kissed him. It was soft and gentle, like the first snowfall of winter. Jake had kissed women before, but nothing had ever felt like this. It felt like coming home after a long journey. It felt like finding something he had not even known he was looking for. When they finally pulled apart, Seraphine's eyes were shining with determination. "I will not obey the council," she said. "I will not give you up. If they want to remove me from the throne, they will have to fight me for it. And they will learn that I am not so easy to defeat." Jake smiled. "That is the woman I fell in love with." "We should tell your crew," Seraphina said. "They deserve to know what is happening. And we will need allies in the days to come." "They already know," Jake admitted. "Apparently, I am not very good at hiding my feelings." Seraphina laughed, a real laugh full of joy. "Neither am I, it seems. The council is known for weeks. They just hoped it would pass, like a fever. They did not understand that this is not a sickness. This is a cure." They stood together, hand in hand, looking out at the stars. Somewhere out there, forces were gathering against them. Angry nobles and worried politicians, and everyone who feared change. The road ahead would be difficult, but for the first time in a very long time, neither of them felt alone. "I wish you were my husband, human," Seraphina said softly, echoing words that had been growing in her heart for years. "I wish I could stand before my people and call you mine." Jake squeezed her hand. "Then let us make it happen. Let us show the galaxy what love can do." And in the starlight, the Queen and the Commander made a promise that would change the fate of two species forever. The medical bay of the Volanti flagship hummed with soft sounds as machines worked to heal Jake's wounds. He lay on a bed made of something that felt like warm water and clouds combined. Seraphina sat beside him, holding his hand, refusing to leave. "Their medicine is remarkable," Jake said, watching the cuts on his arms close up and fade. "On Earth, I would be in the hospital for months." "You nearly died," Seraphina said softly. 3 of Theron's strikes should have been fatal. The doctors said they had never seen someone survive so much damage through pure willpower. Jake smiled weakly. "Humans are stubborn. I thought you knew that." "I knew it." She leaned forward and kissed his forehead. "I just did not realize how stubborn until now." The door to the medical bay opened, and a group of Volanti nobles entered. Jake recognized some of them from the council chamber. He tensed, expecting more conflict, but Seraphina squeezed his hand reassuringly. "These are my allies," she explained. "Nobles who believe in change. Your victory convinced many who were undecided to join our side." A tall female Volanti with silver hair and kind eyes stepped forward. "Commander Morrison, I am Lady Vena. I represent the progressive faction of the council. We wish to express our gratitude for what you did today." "I did it for Seraphina," Jake said honestly. "For love, not for politics," Lady Vena smiled. "We know. And that is precisely why it was so powerful. Our people have forgotten what it means to fight for something beyond duty. You reminded us." Another noble, a young male with curious eyes, spoke up. "The Empire is buzzing with talk of what happened. For the first time in centuries, people are questioning the old ways. They are asking whether there might be a better path forward." "What about Theron?" Jake asked. "What happens to him now?" "His challenge failed," Seraphina said. "By our law, he has lost all claim to the throne. He will be stripped of his military command and sent to a remote outpost on the edge of the Empire. He is no longer a threat." Jake nodded slowly. "Good. I did not want to kill him. I just wanted to stop him." "Another mark in your favor," Lady Vena said. "Mercy is not common among Volanti warriors. Your choice to spare him has earned you respect, even from those who opposed you." Over the following days, Jake recovered fully. The Volanti medicine was as miraculous as promised. Within a week, he was walking again, the scars from the battle fading to thin white lines. During that time, Messages poured in from across the galaxy. Earth's leaders sent official congratulations, along with unofficial messages expressing shock that one of their commanders had somehow become engaged to an alien queen. Other species sent representatives, curious to learn more about the unlikely couple who had captured the attention of the civilized world's thought, and through it all, Jake and Seraphina were together. They walked through the gardens of the flagship, hand in hand. They shared meals and watched the stars and talked for hours about everything and nothing. For the first time in either of their lives, they were simply happy. 1 month after the battle, Seraphina summoned Jake to the throne room. When he arrived, he found her standing before her council, wearing her full ceremonial regalia. The massive chamber was filled with nobles, guards, and dignitaries from a dozen species. "Jake Morrison of Earth," Seraphina said formally, her voice carrying through the room. "Come forward." Jake walked to the center of the room and stopped before the steps of the throne. His heart was pounding. He had a feeling he knew what was about to happen. "3 months ago, you came to my ship as a stranger," Seraphina continued. "You showed me kindness when I expected suspicion. You offered me friendship when I expected diplomacy. And when I was threatened, you fought for me without hesitation, risking your life for someone you barely knew." She descended the steps of the throne until she stood directly before him. Her purple eyes were shining with emotion. "In my 200 years of life, I have never met anyone like you. You are brave without being reckless, strong without being cruel, humble without being weak. You have reminded my people what it means to love, and you have given me something I thought I would never have." She took his hands in hers. "Jake Morrison, I am asking you now, before my council and my people in the watching galaxy, will you be my husband? Will you stand beside me and help me lead the Volanti Empire into a new age? Will you love me for as long as we both live?" Jake looked at her beautiful face. He thought about all the reasons why this should not work. They were from different species. Their lives were vastly different. The challenges ahead would be enormous, thought, but when he looked into her eyes, none of that mattered. "Yes," he said. "1,000 times yes. I love you, Seraphina. I will be your husband. I will stand beside you through whatever comes. Today, tomorrow, and forever." Seraphine's smile was brighter than any star Jake had ever seen. She pulled him close and kissed him, and the throne room erupted in cheers. The wedding was held 1 month later on a space station built specifically for the occasion. It floated in neutral territory between Volanti and human space, a symbol of the new alliance between their peoples. Delegates came from across the galaxy. Earth sent its president and its most senior ambassadors. The Volanti Council attended in full ceremonial dress. Representatives from 12 other species watched with fascination as 2 worlds joined together through the love of 2 people. Jake wore a uniform that blended Earth military tradition with Volanti ceremonial design. It was deep blue and silver, decorated with symbols from both cultures. He stood at the altar, watching as Seraphina walked toward him. She wore a gown of pure white, a color she had never worn before meeting Jake. It flowed behind her like clouds, catching the light from 1,000 stars visible through the station's transparent walls. Her silver hair was free of its usual crown, falling in waves around her shoulders. She had never looked more beautiful. They exchanged vows in both English and the Volanti tongue. They promised to love and protect each other. They promised to build a future together, not just for themselves, but for their peoples. When the ceremony ended and they kissed as husband and wife, the watching galaxy saw something that had never happened before. A human and a Volanti joined in love. 2 species, once strangers, now family. Later that night, after the celebrations had finally quieted, Jake and Seraphina stood alone by a window overlooking the stars. They held hands as they had so many times before. "I wished for this," Serafina said softly. "Every night for 40 years, I wish for someone who would see me as more than a queen. Who would love me for who I am, not what I represent. And then you came." Jake squeezed her hand. "I wish too, even if I did not know it. I always felt like something was missing. Like there was a piece of me waiting to be found. Now I know what it was. It was you." They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the stars drift by. The universe was vast and ancient, filled with wonders and terrors beyond imagination. But in that moment, in that place, two hearts beat as one. "What happens now?" Jake asked eventually. Serafina turned to face him, her purple eyes reflecting the starlight. "Now we live. We lead. We show the galaxy that love can bridge any distance and overcome any obstacle. We prove that humans and Volanthi can work together, can build something neither could build alone." "That sounds like a lot of work. It will be." She smiled. "But we will do it together. That is what marriage means, is it not? Facing everything together, side by side, no matter what comes." Jake pulled her close and held her tight. "Yes," he said. "That is exactly what it means." And so began a new chapter in the history of two civilizations. An age of alliance and understanding. An age of cooperation and growth. An age born not from treaties or trade deals, but from something far more powerful. Love. Because in the end, that was what made humans special. Not their technology or their weapons or their numbers, but their capacity to love, to hope, to reach across the void and find connection with beings they had never known. The Volanthi had ruled their empire through strength and tradition for thousands of years. But it was a simple human soldier who showed them a different way, a better way. And when historians look back on this moment centuries later, they would call it the beginning of the Golden Age. The time when humanity took its rightful place among the stars, not through conquest or submission, but through the oldest and most powerful force in the universe, the force of love. And somewhere in the vastness of space, on a station that had become their home, Jake Morrison and Queen Serafina Morrison slept peacefully in each other's arms. Two hearts from different worlds, finally finally home. The end. The Great Council Chamber of the Volanthi homeworld was the largest room Jake had ever seen. It was carved from purple stone deep inside a mountain. Pillars as thick as ancient trees held up a ceiling so high it was lost in shadow. Thousands of Volanthi nobles filled the seats that rose in circles around the central floor, and in the middle of that floor stood Serafina and Jake, facing the council together. Lord Commander Theron sat in the highest seat of all. He was tall even for a Volanthi, with sharp features and eyes as cold as frozen metal. He wore black armor covered in medals from countless battles. His voice echoed through the chamber like thunder. "This is madness," Theron declared. "Our queen stands before us with an alien at her side and claims she wishes to take him as her mate. This human, this creature from a primitive species that discovered space travel only a century ago. It is an insult to every Volanthi who has ever lived." Shouts of agreement rose from many in the crowd. But Jake noticed that not everyone was shouting. Some nobles sat in silence, their faces thoughtful. Some even looked at Serafina with something like hope. Serafina stepped forward. She was wearing her full ceremonial armor today, the living metal gleaming in the light. Her crown of crystal sat upon her silver hair. She looked every bit the powerful queen she was. "I have served this empire for 40 years, she said, and her voice carried to every corner of the chamber. "I have given everything that was asked of me. I have fought your wars. I have obeyed your rules. I have bonded with mates chosen by this council, even though none of them cared for me, and I cared for none of them." She paused and looked around the room. "And what has it given me? Power? Yes. Authority. Yes. But no happiness. No love. No reason to wake up each morning except duty. I have been a good queen by your standards, but I have been a dead woman walking, and I am tired of it. Feelings are not the concern of the Empire, Theron said coldly. Your duty is to the Volanthi people, not to your own selfish desires. And what about the Volanthi people? Serafina shot back. Look around you, Theron. Our empire is vast, but it is stagnant. We have not made a true alliance in 300 years. We conquer or we ignore. We do not befriend. We do not grow. We do not change. She gestured toward Jake. This man represents something new. His species is young, yes, but they are creative and adaptable and full of passion. An alliance with humanity could bring fresh ideas, fresh technology, fresh life into our empire. Is that not worth considering? He is beneath us, Theron spat. They are all beneath us, are they? Serafina smiled coldly. Tell me, Theron, how many of your soldiers died at the Battle of Proxima? When a single human ship held off 3 of our cruisers for 6 hours, refusing to retreat, even though they were outgunned and outnumbered? That ship was commanded by this man. The man you call beneath us. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Jake had not known that his battle at Proxima had been observed by the Volanthi. He had just been doing his job, protecting his crew. One battle means nothing, Theron said, but there was less certainty in his voice now. It means everything, Serafina replied. It shows that humans have courage, that they will fight even when victory seems impossible, that they never give up. These are qualities the Volanthi used to have, before we became so proud that we forgot how to grow. Theron rose from his seat. His face was twisted with anger. Enough of this. You have been corrupted by this alien. You are no longer fit to rule. I invoke the ancient rights of challenge. I will fight for the throne, and when I win, I will crush humanity like the insects they are. The chamber erupted in chaos. Nobles shouted and argued. Guards moved forward, uncertain what to do. Jake felt Seraphine's hand tighten on his arm. He cannot do this, Jake said. Can he? He can, Serafina replied grimly. The ancient rites allow any member of the royal blood to challenge the current ruler to single combat. It has not been done in centuries, but the law is clear. Then you will fight him? Serafina shook her head. I am skilled, but Terran is the greatest warrior in the Empire. He has never been defeated. If I fight him, I will die. Before Jake could respond, he found himself stepping forward. The words came out of his mouth before he could stop them. I will fight him. The chamber went absolutely silent. Every eye turned to Jake. Theron stared at him with a mixture of disbelief and amusement. You? Theron laughed. A human? You cannot be serious. The ancient rites allow the challenged party to choose a champion, Jake said. He had spent the last week studying Volanthi law, hoping he would never need to use this knowledge. Serafina has been challenged. I am choosing to fight in her place. Jake, no. Serafina grabbed his arm. He will kill you. I cannot let you do this. Jake turned to face her. He took both of her hands in his. You have spent your whole life fighting alone. Let me fight for you this time. Let me prove that what we have is worth defending. Whatever happens, at least the galaxy will know that a human stood up for love. Tears were forming in Seraphine's eyes. I just found you. I cannot lose you. You will not lose me, Jake said with more confidence than he felt. I have been in impossible situations before. I am still here. Trust me. Serafina looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. I trust you. I trust you with my life and my heart. She turned to face the council. I accept Commander Jake Morrison as my champion. The ancient rites will be honored. Theron's smile was cruel and confident. So be it. We will fight tomorrow at dawn, in the ancient arena. I look forward to ending this farce once and for all. The next 12 hours were the longest of Jake's life. Ben Lawson, his chief engineer, managed to get him a Volante training blade. Jake practiced until his arms ached and his hands bled. But he knew it was not enough. Theron had been training for hundreds of years. You do not have to do this, Amy said, watching him swing the blade again and again. We could find another way. There is no other way, Jake replied. If I back out now, Serafina loses everything. Theron becomes ruler. He attacks humanity. Billions of people die. This is the only chance we have. And if you die? Jake paused in his training. He looked at Amy, his loyal lieutenant who had been with him through so many battles. Then you take the crew home, he said. Tell Earth what happened. Make sure people know that we tried. That we fought for something bigger than ourselves. Amy's eyes were wet, but she nodded. Yes, sir. I will. Dawn came too quickly. Jake stood in the center of the ancient arena, a massive circle of stone on the highest mountain of the Volante homeworld. The sky above was purple with the light of 3 moons. Thousands of Volante watched from the surrounding seats. Millions more watched through broadcasts across the Empire. Thurin entered from the other side of the arena. He wore light armor and carried a blade that seemed to glow with inner fire. His face was calm, confident, almost bored. I will make this quick, Theron said. As a kindness to your primitive species. Jake raised his own blade. Less talking. More fighting. Thurin attacked with terrifying speed. Jake barely managed to block the first strike. The force of it sent shock waves through his arms. He stumbled back, almost losing his balance. The crowd roared. Jake could see Serafina in the royal box, her hands gripping the railing until her knuckles turned white. Again and again, Theron pressed forward. He was faster than any opponent Jake had ever faced. His blade seemed to be everywhere at once. Jake took cuts to his arms, his chest, his legs. Blood flowed freely, staining the ancient stones beneath his feet. But Jake kept fighting. He refused to fall. He refused to give up Dot, and slowly, he began to notice something. Theron was good, perhaps the best Jake had ever seen. But he was used to fighting Volante. His techniques were designed to counter their movements, their reflexes, their fighting style. Human combat was different. It was messier, less elegant, more unpredictable. Dot on Theron's next attack. Jake did something that no Volante warrior would ever do. Instead of trying to block or dodge, he stepped directly into the strike. The blade cut deep into his side, sending pain like fire through his body. But it also brought him inside Theron's guard. Before the Lord Commander could react, Jake headbutted him directly in the face. Theron staggered backward, his nose broken and bleeding purple blood. In all his centuries of combat, no one had ever done something so simple, so brutal, so completely and utterly human. Jake pressed his advantage. He fought dirty now, using every trick he had learned in barroom fights and desperate battles on frontier worlds. Elbows and knees, throws and holds. He bit and scratched and kicked at every vulnerable spot he could reach. It was not pretty. It was not elegant. It was not honorable by Volante standards, but it was working. The fight became a whirlwind of violence. Both combatants bled freely. Both refused to fall. The crowd watched in stunned silence. Finally, with the last of his strength, Jake caught Theron's blade arm and twisted. The alien weapon clattered to the ground. Jake swept Theron's legs out from under him and brought his own blade to rest against the Lord Commander's throat. Yield, Jake gasped, barely able to stand. Yield and dissents. Theron stared up at him. There was shock in his cold eyes, disbelief, and finally, something that might have been respect. "I yield," Theron said. "The human is victorious." The arena erupted in cheers. Jake collapsed to his knees as Serafina ran.